Tonsberg, Norway, summer 1904. Over a period of 3 months, Scandinavian archaeologists Gabriel Gustafsson and Håkon Schedeleg excavate a remarkably well-preserved Viking ship. Built from oak in the early 9th century AD, the vessel is an extraordinary piece of engineering.
One of the things that the Vikings had was a ship that was a technological marvel for the time. They could go up and down rivers. They could go across oceans without flipping over as much as previous ships had done. And this meant that they had the ability to get into areas that other people at the time could not get into.
The Viking skill was really sort of unmatched by any other group at this time in terms of the craftsmanship of their boats. And these boats were very flexible in the way that they were made to flex with the waves rather than break apart. So they often referred to them as the sea snakes, because they could sort of snake through the waves.
The unique design of Viking longships made it possible to sail at speeds approaching 28 miles per hour. No other vessels could travel as fast until 1852. More than 1,000 years after, the first Viking ships took to the high seas. But what many researchers find even more impressive and more difficult to explain is the Vikings' incredible navigation skills.
When talking about the Vikings, you're faced with a mystery. And the mystery is that how did the Vikings navigate? For all we know, they had no compass. The compass was a Chinese invention, and without a compass, how could they navigate? Well, the stars, you say, but if you've ever been there to the northern Atlantic, you realize how cloudy it is. On a cloudy day, there's no sun, there's no stars, and yet they were able to navigate the North Seas with tremendous accuracy. And the question is, how did they do it?
Ancient astronaut theorists believe clues might be found by taking a closer look at the Viking sagas. According to legend, the dwarves provided humans with a special stone that enabled them to navigate with great accuracy.
In the Norse sagas, we get mention of something called the solstein, the sunstone. And this is a kind of translucent mineral that's oblong-shaped and has special magical powers. And it's something that the captain of a Viking warship would hold up to the cloudy sky, and through it would be able to see where the sun was. And that was essential to navigation.
These crystals were considered to be magic, and it's been long rumored that the sunstone may have been a major part of their navigational abilities, giving them an edge that other people at the time did not have.
Was the Viking sunstone simply a creation of Norse mythology? Or might it have really existed? The English Channel, March 2013. Underwater archaeologists are exploring a 16th century sunken English warship when they come upon an unusual crystal carved into a nearly perfect rectangle. Researchers are shocked when tests reveal that the object was carved from a chunk of Icelandic calcite. And they suspect they have found one of the fabled Viking sunstones.
Calcite has a property that if light comes into it, it splits the light in half. On a cloudy day, if you look at a calcite crystal, you see not one image, but two images, each one polarized slightly differently. And as you scan the sky, the intensity of these two changes, depending upon where the sun is located. But when you lock onto the sun, the two images are equally bright. Bingo, that's where the sun is located. And that's how the Vikings could do it without a compass. They simply pointed it toward the sun until the two images matched in intensity.
For archaeologists, almost as exciting as the discovery of a Viking sunstone was the fact that it was found on a 16th century ship.
What that shows us is that 500 years after the disappearance of the Vikings, their technology was still being used. This was still cutting-edge technology.
Might the sunstone provide physical evidence that the tales of Norse mythology are not entirely fiction, but could be based on real events? And if so, might otherworldly beings, like the dwarves and gods described in the Viking sagas, have shared knowledge with the ancient people of Scandinavia? For ancient astronaut theorists, the answer is a resounding yes.
Throughout Norse mythology, they really have an abundance of these magical imbued objects. But if the Norse people had the ability to use a crystal that is some type of astronomical beacon to actually know where the sun was, this is some advanced science. And perhaps someone taught the Norse people to understand the principles of using such a technology.
From the technological marvel known as the sunstone, to the highly advanced Viking swords, and mythology that reads like modern science fiction, ancient astronaut theorists suggest there is abundant evidence that the Norse people had encounters with otherworldly beings. But perhaps the most intriguing evidence of all can be found by closely examining the ritual of the Viking funeral. Dinah Beach, Australia, July 12, 2025. At a modern-day yacht club, more than 7,000 miles from Scandinavia, a ceremony is held to recreate one of the most important and iconic Norse rituals, the Viking funeral. In the days of the Vikings, the body of the deceased would be floated out to sea aboard a ship. Then a flaming arrow launched to set it ablaze.
There's a whole symbology behind those rituals. And this is interesting because the whole idea of burning the dead is the smoke rises so that their essence could reach the realm of the gods. That is the legend behind it. But you have to ask yourself the question, what's the origin for that? What was the realm of the gods? Was it just a spiritual place, something ethereal? The ancient astronaut theory suggests, hold on a minute, maybe they actually meant a physical place.
The Viking funeral was symbolic of a journey to Asgard, the realm of the gods. But according to the Old Norse stories, the actual journey happened on the battlefield, and it was carried out by the Valkyries, who are described as mortal women with divine powers.
In Norse mythology, you have Valkyries, who are warrior princesses who ride winged horses. And they fly over the battlefields and they pick up the bravest of the warriors, particularly as they're just about to die or if they have died. And they carry their spirits up to Valhalla, which is the palace for fallen warriors and the feasting hall.
The Vikings didn't fear death because when they died, they went to Valhalla, and there Odin would provide them with a banquet every night. They could eat and drink as much as they want.
In the Norse tales, Valhalla is portrayed as a great hall in Asgard, where Odin, the ruler of the gods, welcomes fallen warriors. The hall is described as a physical place made of gleaming metal, held up by spear shafts and roofed by shields. And as far as ancient astronaut theorists are concerned, it's possible that Valhalla was not some mythical paradise, but something far more profound.
According to the ancient astronaut theory, Valhalla could be another name for maybe an orbiting space station or something like that. The reason why I'm saying this is because whenever we have a description of Valhalla, it is an incredible description of a place that has attributes that I refer to as misunderstood technology.
Various descriptions of Valhalla give it the reference of being some type of a large metallic ship. Add to the fact that Valhalla is described as a place that they actually journeyed to. Maybe this is some type of a description of them traveling to this in a ship, and since they put their dead in ships and set them afire, maybe this is actually a reference of them traveling to Valhalla in a ship that has flames coming out of it, going into space.
Could it be that the Old Norse tales of Valhalla were describing some kind of craft or space station that was orbiting the Earth? And might the Viking funeral ceremony have been designed to mimic the fire and smoke produced by a rocket ship blasting off into space? Curiously, the Norse were not the only ancient culture to incorporate ships into their funerary rites.
In Norse mythology, you have this concept of taking some kind of transport into the other world. This is something that has been around for thousands of years and appears around the world. It's in Africa. It's in South America. It's in China. With Egyptian funeral rites, oftentimes there would be a funeral boat was associated with it. And these boats themselves would be analogies of the spaceships, in fact, that would take them over the sky.
The fact that around the world you find the exact same references in ancient myths and legends, to me, is not a coincidence, but on the contrary, it relays that true origin was a worldwide visitation by visiting extraterrestrials.
Is it possible that modern reenactments of the Viking funeral unknowingly commemorate otherworldly contact in the distant past? As far as ancient astronaut theorists are concerned, the answer is a resounding yes. And they suggest there is evidence that Scandinavia may be experiencing alien activity even today. Northern Norway, December 9th, 2009. Just before dawn, an incredible spiral of light appears in the night sky. It swirls in place for 10 minutes and is witnessed hundreds of miles away in Sweden.
The Norwegian spiral anomaly captured the imagination of the world. Theories included that it was something to do with the Northern Lights, that it was the malfunctioning of a Russian ballistic missile. Other people had more exotic theories.
It looked just awe-inspiring. It really, truly did. So naturally, there was a lot of questioning, wondering, like, what is it? Is this a UFO-related thing, or is it not?
Some people said this is the opening of a wormhole. Something's come through.
The Norwegian spiral anomaly made headlines around the world. And it was only the latest in a number of extraordinary mass UFO sightings that have occurred over the area of Scandinavia. Since the 1930s, residents of the small mountain village of Hastelen, Norway, have been reporting strange lights of various colors that appear at night, and sometimes even during the day.
People see bright lights moving very near to the houses, balls of lights, even shapes sometimes. And these lights can last for minutes or even hours.
The reports continued for decades. And in 1983, Norwegian electrical engineer Erling Strand started a research project to investigate the phenomena.
In the early 80s, it was a lot of sightings. We had 20 observations 1 week. The Heston lights can be more traditional UFO sighting, where they describe a disc-shaped object, cigar-shaped object, and so on. It's very easy to think that these come from other worlds.
In addition to the Hastelen lights, in 1946, thousands of people in Sweden, Norway, and Denmark witnessed what were referred to as the ghost rockets, which are some of the earliest UFO sightings on record.
Many people saw bright lights in the sky, which many people today mention as a UFO. More than 2,000 reported in Scandinavia.
For ancient astronaut theorists, these sensational UFO events beg the question, is it possible that alien entities witnessed by the Vikings are still present in this region today?
Scandinavia is undoubtedly a UFO hotspot, and we have interesting accounts from Norse folklore. And of course, there are many, many people who say that mythology is just the way that our ancestors described real things that happened to them, but just made them into these sagas as a way of keeping the story alive and telling it to successive generations.
You have to wonder if the Norwegian spiral anomaly has to do with these Nordic gods and coming and going out of this place for many thousands of years. And it could be that these Norse gods, as extraterrestrials, are still here.
Could it be that otherworldly visitors encountered by the Norse people centuries ago are behind the many strange sightings reported over Scandinavia today? And do the ancient tales of these gods still resonate because they are part of humankind's true history? Perhaps one day soon, characters like Thor and Odin, long relegated to the realm of mythology, will introduce themselves to humanity once again as our alien ancestors.